Welcome to IRE 2024. This is the penetrations presentation. I'll point out, look, we're not doing anything revolutionary here. We're pointing out the basics and sort of the ideology and the theoretics to pipe penetrations. That's what we're going to start with. And then we're going to do with a rectangular penetration or a curb install. So first thing I want to point out is that it's super important that you lay out your panel ribs so that you end up with the pipe preferably in the center of the panel, or at least have room for what we're going to be installing the deck tight to fit kind of in the flat of the panel. That's the most important part. So we've obviously laid out our panels. We started on the gable or rake side, put on our first panel. Super important part of this whole install is that we're not trying to pin the panels or fasten the panels so they're not allowed to expand and contract. Most standing seam metal systems are pinned at the top, hooked on the bottom, and allowed for thermal movement. That's standard in the industry. So what we're trying not to do is change that. So we lay the deck tight on, we trace a circle, cut that out so that we have a void, so that we're only screwing through the panel to allow for modulation and thermal movement. All right? So we'll measure it, cut the top off. All the deck tights are graduated. Nothing new. They're all measured out. Cut it, put it on, trace it, cut the plywood out or the solid surface out, and that allows for the modulation or the thermal movement of the panels. Measure it, lay it out, cut a circle. It's going to turn into a bit of an oval just because of the pitch. Panel goes on. This is an 1 3/4 snap lock, probably the most prevalent snap together or snap seam panel in the industry. Most manufacturers have them. Pretty much a standard install. Talk a little bit more about the deck tights. Boots, pipe boots, accessory with many names. Both of these pipe jacks or boots will fit on the same pipe. I prefer the smaller one for a smaller footprint of the panel. It's up to you. This one's probably the most common one. It's a number 3. This is a number 4. They all pretty much are the same. They're just different sizes. The square one is very, very common. You can find them at your local box store. Super common. The only difference is they're square. When we install them, you'll notice that there's it's a patented rib system for sealing, and you can put those, right on the panel, and that's good. You want to fasten them down, per the recommended installation method. Screws about every 2 inches. Make sure they're tight. You can put sealant on the inside of this patented gasketed system. I'm not, I don't really endorse that, just because I think that gasket system, there's the potential for it to seal tight, and then that sealant never sets up. So you're kind of losing the durability of the sealant if it doesn't set up. Better way to do it is probably butyl tape. Butyl tape is one of the most common sealants there is. You like that idea? Right. It's just, you got a good and better method to do it, right? So it's a little bit better. So, by the way, this is Jason and Andy, stars of the show. And so that's what they've done there. They've put butyl on there, and they're ready to fasten it now. Another alternate boot, if let's say the pipe has a bend in it and you can't get the pipe boot right over the top, there's what they call a retrofit. And it fits on the pipe, and it's got like a little zipper system. Kind of cool, and they go together. Pretty predictable. But a lot of people think, oh, we'll put it on like that so you can't see the zipper. It's really not the best method to put that on with. Really, because water's going to really hit the zipper, and it could be a potential for a leak. So it's probably better like that. Aesthetically, it's probably not the best, but metal roofing is more about the durability and the performance versus the aesthetic. And that's sort of a balance issue all the time, whether you're dealing with homeowner, commercial, doesn't really matter. Everybody wants the metal roof to look good. I've been in the business since 1987, and I'm still looking for a perfect roof. So if you're still looking for it, keep trying. Nothing wrong with that. So fasteners about every 2 inches-ish. Always go by the recommended install method by the manufacturer. So, at the top, once again, good, better methods. You can leave it like that, seal around the top with, a sealant. That's good. A better method to do is use a pipe clamp around that, hold that deck tight up top. Better way to do it is a stainless steel pipe clamp. A little bit more durable, well, a lot more durable actually, versus a galvanized one. Stainless steel pipe clamp, maybe another bead of sealant around that pipe clamp. Just, belt and suspender system in the metal roofing business, that's the best way to go. Sealant around, always, use a good sealant. Beautiful, beautiful. So, there's a deck tight. Like I said, nothing revolutionary. And what we're looking for is a predictable method of install. We know how those perform. They've been performed and installed for decades. We know how they perform. So, ready?
Yeah, did you talk about this one?
A little bit. I'll let you move to the side and we'll get in there. So, the square one that you find at your box store, one way to install is like that. Aesthetically, that looks pretty pleasing. I would recommend turning them on a diagonal to allow water to circulate around versus trapping water above. Don't know what that dynamic looks like on the project, but it's just a little bit better performance. All right, moving on. Next one, square penetration. So as you can see, the panels are installed all the way around the curb. Take that one. So, panels are installed all the way around the curb. Down below, we've brought the panels up a foot above the curb bottom. This is a pre-manufactured curb. Pre-manufactured curbs might think cost a little bit more money, but they're going to perform. We know how they perform. They're not going to leak. Biggest potential for leaks are up top this curb where the water dives in and it can settle. Great way to do it is with a cricketed pre-manufactured curb. Predictable performance. That's what we're looking for. So the panels are installed all the way around. We've got a foot worth of lap to put this curb on. And with the seams, it's notched out down below or the bottom of the curb, the low end of the curb. That's a one-piece curb. On a big curb, not the easiest thing to handle or get up on the roof. They do make them in 2 pieces. This is a 2-piece curb. Once again, nothing revolutionary. Might be the best scenario for your install or somebody else's install, obviously, but there we go. So we have the panels, curb is installed, notched out for the seams. We've got water lap. The panels come up, curb goes over the top. Now to get the standing seam metal roof all the way around, we're going to use offset cleat. Offset cleat is a reasonable method to execute when we talk about thermal expansion in the panels and how they are terminated, where they start and stop. I mentioned before that the panels are basically, they're static at the top and we allow for thermal movement on the panel system or the install. We're basically doing the same thing when we do an offset cleat. The offset cleat will be attached to a lower portion. We're starting and stopping the panels because the water's got to come back over the top of this lower panel. This install isn't to scale. Normally your component or your curb is going to be up on the roof. We lowered this whole thing to kind of allow people to take a look at it and actually get a visual. If we did it way up on top, nobody could see anything. We're not hiding anything, we're just trying to show what's going on. So, the offset cleat is a method of holding the panel down without restricting the thermal movement of the panel system of the standing seam. Offset cleat is a thin line component to hook onto. We use butyl on the back side of it, and with butyl, best part about butyl, it lasts a really long time as long as it's not in UV, but it needs to be compressed at a high level. We recommend every 4 inches it should be fastened. That's the best way to do it, or 3, but 4 is a really good standard. 4 is going to allow for compression between those screws. That compression goes about 2.5 inches, 4 inches. It equates to a really high level of compression. On this install, actually, we're not peeling the butyl. We always recommend peeling the butyl. We're not doing it so we can get this thing apart at the end. So don't think that we don't care. We're just trying to make it a little bit easier to tear this thing down. So, but using the components is the right thing. Using the right screws is a good thing. We're using a very durable triangle fastener. Great potential for hold, great potential for compression. Another thing I want to point out, in the layout of the panels, we talked a little bit about layout for the pipe penetration. Similarly with the curb. We don't want to have a rib too close to the edge of this to allow for clean out. Very similar to a valley condition. You want enough clean out to allow the water to get around that curb and get the heck out of there. Nobody wants